You really get resentful that somebody else has and you don't. Well, I don't know why they get to have it. Or you start seeing things that aren't even there. Because a lot of this comes out of perception. I'll tell you this with all married couples. All of you, when you have a problem, will have some other couple in mind like, why can't we be more like them? They're just wonderful and perfect. Because you don't know what they are. That's just what you see in public for 5 minutes. So you could be jealous, but you don't actually know that you're being jealous of. But it could be that you're seeing things that aren't even there. Because your desire in not having blurs the mind. It filters what we see in our reality. It creates a delusional vision of reality. Christians who say, well, you're not getting me to go back under the law, it's not anything other than just flesh. I don't want to do this. I don't want to change my life, okay? I don't want to keep a different day. I don't want to eat different. I don't want to have to, wear different things on my clothes, whatever. It's flesh, that's all. It's those desires, those things that I don't want to do all that. So hopefully that was something that's starting to really coalesce this. Can you see the consistency? We went through this in Romans. We went through it in Ephesians. We went through it in James. Now we're in Colossians. Everybody's saying the same thing. Or at least Paul's saying the same thing in multiple places, but now James said it as well. We're going to see it in other places as well. I mean, we've been already going on now 7 parts, okay? We should be hearing that there's a cohesive message here. All right, this is what we call the afterburn. If you have a comment or question, you can come on up. There's chairs over here for you to come and sit in to ask your questions. If you're online, you can start typing them in.
So I have a question about verse 10. I think
which book are we in?
Where you were, James, chapter 4.
Okay.
Right. So I think it's 10, but that's where I wrote my notes.
That's all right.
But it says, humble yourself in the sight, right. But you were talking about desire. So it obviously comes from before, right? But when you were saying you ask, but you don't get and all that. You were saying you desire, let me see if I got you correctly. You desire and you don't have it, right? And then you said either because others have it and you don't, or because you desire something from maybe other people, or I don't know, and they are not willing, or they don't want to give it to you. So I wanted to ask you, can you give us more specific examples of what type of desires? You did talk about desiring the shrimp or any of that, right? But are there any other examples of things? Is it just material stuff that we're talking about?
It could be anything. It could be the way you're treated, Maybe you want to be treated more gently. Maybe you want to be treated with more respect. Maybe you want to be treated, talked to in a certain tone of voice or a certain whatever. I mean, it could be all kinds of things relationally, all right? Maybe, you want people to take their shoes off when they come in your house and they keep not doing that. I mean, it's a desire that if it's not done could irritate you if you're not humble enough to say, okay, it's fine that I desire that, but it doesn't need to be something that disturbs my peace. And because if my peace is disturbed, that's not from above. Okay? So there's a combination of those kind of things, okay? So relationally, it could really have to do with my expectations. If we were married, I'd have expectations of you, and you'd have expectations of me, all right? If they're not met, that's a desire that either one of us has that wasn't met. And it could be about anything as deep or as shallow as you want to get. All right? It really can. Okay, simply an expectation that's not met, Well, I expect you to, put that back when you're done using it. I expect you to put it in this place or that place. I expect, whatever the expectation. I mean, it could be something that's small, or it could be something really much more deep where it has to do with how we treat each other. Mm-hmm. That could really be cut deeply if we're not humble enough to not allow it to cut so deeply. Okay? Right. All right?
So it's more preferences? Is that
It's always preferences. The flesh is all about your preferences. It's a desire. You desire what you prefer. Okay?
But how is that? Okay, so I'm trying to figure it out with Torah, because people have different preferences. But it becomes an issue when you want your thing, your way. Is that when you're not able to kind of a lot of times I talk to to couples, and they're not willing to compromise. They're not willing to kind of get in, like give in a little bit, and that type of thing.
Again, when we do this in the expectations exercise, ultimately, if you can't find a way to, in the expectations, recognize that if anybody tries to win, then they lose. Everybody has to lose a little bit. In other words, winning means it's all my way. Okay? To really win, it has to be somehow both ways. Right. All right? So examples that are used are like, let's say you are expecting to go out on date night with your husband every week. And maybe in his mind, he was thinking I was going to take you out for our anniversary. Well, that doesn't really match up very well. So if you win, he's not going to be happy. If he wins, you're not going to be happy. But what if you didn't win and maybe he took you out every other month or once a month, and then he doesn't win because he didn't really want to do that, and you don't win because it's not as much as you wanted, but it's still more, and you can agree, right? I'm just saying that those are the kinds of things that can come around. Look, there are things that could really be problematic in any relationship in terms of not receiving if you're doing it only to your pleasures. Like, for example, let's say you like to put an ingredient in something, a dish that we both like, but I know people like this. Like, let's say one of you loves onions, the other one does not like onions. The one who's cooking keeps putting the onions in, and that's the person who likes it, and the other person is, but I don't like onions. Okay? And so you're not respecting that doesn't match up for them. So maybe find a way where you put it on the side, or you do some other thing, or make a different dish. Whatever, I'm just saying is, there is lots of examples where you desire but don't have, okay? I desire you not to put onions in it. You desire to put it in, or vice versa. Okay? Well, unless we agree, then it's no longer desire, don't have. If we agree, now it's not a desire, don't have. It's just we agreed to have some sort of compromise, right? But until there's a compromise, I desired, you desired, they don't match, one of us isn't getting what we want. And it could be, really big things. It could be really dumb things. It doesn't matter. We fight it mostly about dumb things anyway. All right? But the dumb things almost always come back down to I want and I'm not getting, or you want and I'm not giving you what you want, whatever, and you're not getting. That's kind of what Paul's James is trying to tell us. You want and you don't have. And so it's not just I want stuff, like the whatever it is. Let's say the wife is saying to the husband, I want a new car. Well, that's fine. We don't have any money for a new car. All right, well, that's something like, okay, that's a thing. But it could be more about, I'd like you to speak my love language. Okay, what if your love language is, quality time? Well, you don't need to spend any quality time with me. I spend a lot of time with you, but it's not quality time. Well, that's your fault. You haven't explained to your spouse what quality time looks like to you. They may think they're doing quality time, okay? Because I can tell you, my wife and I, that's the one that we have closest in common of the love languages, but we don't see quality time the same. So for me to speak her language, and it's higher up on her list than on mine, I have to remember what she thinks it is, okay? So, hopefully that helps you, because I know you do a lot of couples counseling and stuff, so maybe that would help a little bit understand. They've got to compromise, and once they compromise, it's no longer I want and don't have. If they compromise and they're still in that mindset, they didn't compromise. They gave in. Oh wait, maybe we need to really hit that harder. Okay? Compromise and I gave in are not the same thing. Because I gave in means you still are desiring and don't have and you're not happy. All right? So let me tell you what compromise should look like. If you have a situation that pops up where somebody wants something and you don't really want that, but you'll be willing to give that to them, whatever it is, find something that they didn't really want to do that they can give you, and you make a trade-off. And now you're getting something you weren't really getting as much of, or whatever it is that you wanted, and they're getting something that they wanted that they weren't getting as much of, but you both gave in, okay, or compromise. You're like, well, I just gave in. Because then you're going to get resentful. You don't need to be resentful, okay? So if we'll use the date night thing. The one who wanted once a year didn't give in and say, okay, we'll go out every month. He said, okay, we can compromise that. I'm not going to get exactly what I want, but neither are you. Because, you know, if one wins and the other loses, that's a give-in situation and someone's going to be resentful. Okay? Unless it was a trade-off. This thing that you wanted to do 0, that I asked for, and now you're willing to give me some of that, and this thing that I didn't want to, I wanted to give you 0, but I'm going to give it, now we're both we're trading. It's still a trade, okay? Because even though you may have fully won, I also fully won on a different thing. So we traded. We negotiated. That's kind of the point of the expectations exercise, is to create an opportunity for negotiation, okay? All right?
Thank you, Rabbi.
You're
Very
welcome.
good. With, again, going back to you desire and you do not have, right? And then you murder and you're jealous, unable to obtain, and so forth. Are you, so this is not asking the Father for anything. This is more of a relational type of deal, because then it says, you ask and do not receive because you ask evilly in order to spend it in your
Well,
own
what he's saying is
pleasures.
at some point when you're frustrated, you pray about it. That's generally what people do, right? And then he doesn't give it to you. So he's saying at some point when you don't have, you ask for it. Okay? But you're not asking for the right thing. You're asking for a wrong approach, so he doesn't give it to you. Because it says, you don't ask, but then he says, but you ask. He says, well, you're not asking for what you should be asking for, but what you do ask for, you don't get because you're asking for all the wrong reasons and the wrong approach and all the whatever. The whole thing is just wrong. Okay?
Very good. Thank you. Now I get it.
By the way, let's take this whole murder jealousy thing. Yeah. I just thought of something, or he inspired it, whatever. Think of it from the point of view of murder, meaning the level of anger you might get. Okay? You desire and don't have, so you might get really angry. Okay? The level of upset. Okay? Or jealous could be that you're one of two things. One is you really get resentful that somebody else has and you don't. Well, I don't know why they get to have it. Or you start seeing things that aren't even there. Because you don't have, you want, you don't have. So out of that, because a lot of this comes out of perception. Yeah. I'll tell you this with all married couples. All of you, when you have a problem, will have some other couple in mind, like, why can't we be more like them? They're just wonderful and perfect. Because you don't know what they are. That's just what you see in public for 5 minutes. Okay? So you could be jealous, but you don't actually know that you're being jealous of. Okay, it's not like saying, I wanted to have this particular car, and then you have that exact car. I mean, that could be actual jealousy. Okay, well, why don't I have a new car? But it could be that you're seeing things that aren't even there, because your desire in not having blurs the mind. It filters what we see in our reality. It creates a delusional vision of reality. Does that make sense? Yeah. So we're either going to be overly angry, murder. That you would literally do that, but we're like, you're really super angry. Or you might actually be seeing things that aren't there, and you start elevating that, well, they have and I don't, because now you're acting all jealous. Okay? But what you'll end up doing is you'll compare your husband's bad day to somebody else's husband's good day. Or you'll compare somebody else's wife's good day to your wife's bad day, or whatever. And so it's not a fair comparison, all right? It's not a fair comparison, okay? Because your relationship with your spouse has its issues that don't mean that somebody else's relationship with their spouse is going to be the same issues. There are issues. They're just not necessarily the same issues, okay? One couple may have a problem with not going out enough or not spending enough time together. The other couple might not have that issue at all, but they have a different issue that causes just as much problem in their marriage. Okay? It's just a different issue. Mm-hmm. And some of them are a little bit easier to keep private, and you don't get to see it, so you don't know. And then you all act shocked when they get divorced. You're like, oh my gosh, I didn't see that coming. You guys seem like you were the best couple ever. Anybody ever see that happen? Okay? I mean, sure, there's some divorces like, oh, yeah, well, we saw that coming. Okay? but there's ones that we don't. It is what it is, right? All right, go ahead.
So this doesn't apply to things that you ask that are not necessarily something relationally, like with anybody, but maybe something that you ask for yourself. This example came to mind. Let's say you're asking to get pregnant, and you don't get pregnant, and you don't get pregnant. So this is not about asking something like that. This is...
Okay, look. Follow the flow. Yeah. We're fighting and striving.
So it's all about relationship.
So it's not, no, I'm not saying it's all about relationship. I'm saying is that this is not happening until you're upset that you don't get pregnant. Oh. Wanting to get pregnant, wanting a new house, a new car, this or that, anything you want, that's not what it's talking about here. Oh. It's saying you're upset because you don't have something. Okay. And then you go through this process in a wrong way. Okay. See, again, follow the flow of the the letter, right?
That's what I need you to help me with that. Thank you.
Okay, because remember, he says, you ask and don't receive because you ask evilly. Ask what? Whatever it is you're so upset about. Okay? Right. So it's not the thing necessarily that you're asking. It's that you've allowed it to become the thing you're all upset. And like, why can't so-and-so just got pregnant. I've been trying for so long. I don't get pregnant. Or this one got married. And this person, I've been single longer in this congregation. And like 3 other people came in and within weeks they got married and found somebody. It's once you get upset about it. Okay? Because all you need is to be in a situation and have somebody else in a similar situation show up and have theirs fixed like real quickly and yours hasn't been, and you could be in this place. Okay? That just, is a trigger for this. So you're asking in this mental, emotional, psycho-emotional, negative place of anger and jealousy. Okay? Frustration. I want and don't have, and I'm not happy about it. Okay? As opposed to just saying, you know what? I'd love to get married someday. You know what? I'd love to have a baby. You know what? I'd like a new job or whatever it is. You can pray about that. There's nothing wrong with that. Especially if you have good reasons for how it'll make your life better. You can make other people's life, whatever it is. But when it's coming out of this, it's not fair. How come they get it and I don't? Now we're in a wrong place. Because now it's all about you. Okay, Father, I need this so I can be happy. Now you've turned it into the wrong thing. Does that help?
This is so good, Rabbi. Okay. Great, amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just want to say the emotion is the issue, the negative emotion. Like you were saying how you can even start to make up stories with the jealousy. I can see so much happening even with fear. You can create all these things that seem so real when it's not. And one more thing, I did not know.
Hold that thought, because I just thought of something. Listen, and maybe this is going to sound so simple, but we can miss this. We pull what we need to out of letters and writings and different things that prophets wrote or whatever it was. We pull these things out as we need them. And I think we forget that James wrote this for a reason. He didn't write it so you just read a verse in chapter 3 or 4 and just get something out of it. He had a point. Okay, or potentially several points. Like if you wrote a letter to somebody, you might have 2 or 3 points. And so I think it's, behooves us, if that's the right word, to figure out the point he's trying to make. So if you're reading chapter 3 or 4 and you haven't read the letter in a while, go back to the beginning and make sure we understand what he's trying to say so that you know what chapter 3 or 4 fits into the point he's trying to make. So when you ask me about verse 10 or you ask me about verse 2, you desire you don't have, well, let's remember even just one verse earlier, they're fighting over this stuff. It's causing strife. Okay, so you got to kind of follow this stuff through, okay? And it has to do with claiming you believe something, but where are your actions to back it up? Because that was chapter 2, leading into chapter 3, into chapter 4, right? So you got to have to kind of figure out what has James been saying up to this point. It's not like we're trying to figure out Deuteronomy by going back and reading Leviticus necessarily, because there are different books written about different things as you're walking through the whole process, okay? But we are here reading a single letter written to a group of people. In this case with James, it's to the dispersion. And he has a message. And the message is cohesive, if you would read it as a message that's cohesive, right? And then keep that in your mind as you're reading it. Like, what is the message here? Okay, like if you're reading Deuteronomy, you have to know these are Moses' final words, recapping the journey so they're ready to go forward when they go in the land. I just gave you the summary in 2 sentences, okay? And you have to have that in mind when you read that whole book. Okay, it's a recap of the journey out of Egypt to the point where they're now at the land with final admonitions because he wasn't going to be with them after that. So that's context. Book of Hebrews, the temple is about to be destroyed. Jerusalem is under siege and everything's about to go bye-bye. Context, right? Okay? Now, if you don't have simple context like that, then you have to read the letter and say, I wonder why Peter wrote this. Why did Paul write this? What's the issues being addressed? All right. Now, sometimes in Paul's letters, people have contacted him about certain things. Okay, I'm going to answer issue 1, then issue 2, then issue 3. Okay, so Paul's to his congregations can be a little bit more like that. But James just said, I decided to write a letter to all of you guys out there just to kind of give you this general 2 or 3 points I'm trying to make, right? And if you don't understand what those are, you can't understand anything else he's saying because it all fits into that framework. All right? That's really what's critical in terms of, I always say context is everything, right? So, all right.
No, and a good teacher for sure. I did not know it's darkness. For me, it's like playing the I victimize kind of mentality. I didn't know.
That could be a darkness place because if you look, anything that makes it hard to see things right is darkness. I'm not saying everything that's darkness is that, but if you can't see things right, that's a place that's lacking light. Anger, depression, anxiety, any negative emotion, jealousies and other things, these all hinder your ability to see things clearly, which means that there's some darkness there, okay? But understand, you want to understand darkness? Go to the darkness and light teaching, okay? It's again, a refresher. This is why I did a reset of all of the previous 6 parts at the beginning of this for like 15 minutes, because the new people especially, but even you who have maybe not remembered part 1, 2, and 3, you need to remember this is the context of the teaching I'm giving you about being set free in your mind, freeing your mind from slavery to freedom, right? And so I want you to make sure you see how this is all about that war that's going on inside of you, the challenge that you have.
All right, from Cass 42, how do you overcome the flesh? If Yah does not do it for you and you have to do it for yourself, if you're truly struggling with things that hinder you, is that a lack of in wisdom?
I want to be polite, okay? Look, maybe you haven't listened for that long. Everything that you need to do requires the same process. Okay, you need to first figure out what your problem is. So when you say that I have a flesh problem, what flesh problem? All areas of your life are flesh? Some areas of your life are flesh? And then become an expert in your problem. You have to go do the work, the research, find the teachers, trainers, program developers, or whatever that can help you in that area if you're struggling with those things that hinder you. All right, whatever it is, first, identify what you think it is. Then go get some professional help to identify whether or not you're right. I think I have this problem. You go to the person and ask them about that, okay? I've had people contact me on a regular basis saying, I think my child has, is on the spectrum or this or that, the other thing. I said, well, go get them tested. They're like, well, I'm like, you think you know what a problem is, go verify the problem. That doesn't mean you have to do whatever they tell you for the solution. But go verify the problem. Okay, if I start having symptoms of something medically, I will go to the medical professional and say, I'm having these symptoms. I think it may be this. Can you tell me if I'm right or wrong or what you think what it is? Do the tests or whatever. Then I can go and either do what they recommend or I can go do research about what other people may recommend to come up with whatever it is I decide I'm going to do to handle my problem. Okay, so how do you overcome the flesh? First, identify what flesh you're talking about. Is it in the way you have relationships? Look at the 7 areas of life. Is it a flesh problem in your health, in your wealth, in your relationships, in your head, right? In your emotions, in your thinking? Is it a flesh problem in your obedience? Like you're having a problem with observance and submission and obedience to the Creator? What flesh are we talking about? Then once you identify the flesh we're talking about, then go and figure out what other people have done who've had that problem, because you're not the only one that's ever had the problem. Okay? And there are people that have figured out solutions. And if you think it's something that you need to counsel with, make an appointment, talk to me, and I certainly will have no problem fleshing that out and helping you find an answer. Okay? All right? But I want us all, and again, I'm not picking on Cass, okay? All of you, stop. Again, please, this has nothing to do with Cass. This is for everybody. Stop being so lazy. Work at it yourself. Make an attempt to figure it out. If you struggle with something, figure out the best you can what options are out there to deal with what you're struggling with. Okay? Nobody did anything for me. I started very young listening to tapes at the time, there wasn't really much to watch. There were videos, going to programs, reading books. Okay, now there's so much more. You just put on YouTube anything you want. Somebody taught it and did a seminar about it, did a TED Talk about it or something, okay? And you can watch unlimited amounts of things for free that may or may not be useful, but at least start addressing what you think may be your problem, all right? But please make the effort. Okay? Is not going to do it for you. I've already told you that. Why? Because you can do this yourself. As a matter of fact, because you need to do it yourself. Because please understand this. You need what you gain from doing it yourself. I'm not just talking about the thing is solved. What you gain by you doing the work to figure it out. Do you understand what I'm saying? Let's say you're at A and you're trying to get to B. I could take you and just put you at B, but you wouldn't have gained anything that you would have learned if you got yourself to B. All right? Because I got people all the time calling us up going, well, I don't know what to do. And I always ask, well, what have you tried? Nothing. What are you wasting my time for? That's lazy. What have you done? Oh, I don't know what to do. Nobody knows what to do initially. Do you understand that? Anything that you've never dealt with before, anybody like that, everybody's had stuff in their life they've never dealt with before. You know what that means? They don't know what to do. Now, granted, if you've done that multiple times, you have some processes of how to approach when you don't know what to do. That's a skill you can develop. Which is why Elder, myself, and others will almost always say yes to anything that we're asked to do, because even if we don't know how to do it, we know we can figure it out or find somebody who can or whatever it is that it is. Instead of always going, well, I don't know how to do that. So you guys often will say no to stuff you should say yes to. And the reason you say no is because you don't know what to do. Instead of having confidence, you could either A, figure it out or find somebody else that can whatever, okay? You know, one of the most powerful things that will change your whole life, and this is going to really sound like it makes no sense coming from somebody who teaches something Messianic about Messiah, whatever it is, nobody's coming to rescue you. And as soon as you figure that out, you're going to grow. Okay? Maybe, and ladies, maybe this is harder for you, and maybe you can appreciate a man a little better. Men spend their whole life knowing nobody's coming to rescue them. You guys expect a man's going to come into your life, rescue you, take care of you, whatever it is. Nobody's taking care of us. Okay? And if we're looking for someone to take care of us, you don't want that guy. That person still wants a mommy or whatever. Okay? But the growth comes from realizing that nobody's coming to rescue you. People are available to guide you, advise you, instruct you. But you got to ask the questions, you know. I've got a nurse practitioner that I use for my health, and you know what? There's nothing that she does for me until I walk in and say, I got this thing that's going on right now. I got this little cough, or I got this little this, or whatever. And then I explain that there's an issue that needs to be explored. Okay? Or people go to Janet for counseling because she's a therapist and says, look, I'm struggling with my mental health. Well, what part of it? Well, I have anxiety. Okay, now we got something to start working on. Figure out why you have anxiety and what to do with it. Okay? But almost always, I'm sure she does this, I would ask, and what have you already done in the past up to this point to deal with it? Actually, probably the first question is, well, how long have you had this? Right? Well, I've had this my whole life. I've had this for 20 years. Well, have you ever done anything for it? Yeah, I tried this and this and this. Okay, good. So I'm starting to get some information, right? But you need to own your growth, your stuff. Remember, I wrote in my notes here that I read to you as part of the preset, he causes you to seek. He causes you to be aware. He causes you to wake up. And then he sits back and sees what you do with it.
From Nigel Phillips, how does someone whose love language is
wait,
words...
hold on. The last part of the person's question before it said, is that a lack of wisdom, not knowing what to do, whatever it is? The answer is yes, because what is wisdom? Wisdom is what we need to know how to properly apply something once we get it. So, of course, there's wisdom missing, but see, the problem is you don't have it yet. So wisdom is actually at this point is not the problem. You need information first. I go to the doctor. The doctor says, I'd like to put you on this medication for the rest of your life. That's information. Now, wisdom is going to determine what I do with that information. Do I just do whatever the doctor says? Maybe. Maybe that's the best choice. Do I look to see if there are alternatives? That's probably more wise before I just decide to do that. I don't end up eventually doing what the doctor said anyway, but you understand what I'm saying? Initially, there's information. All right? But then there's so many choices of what you can do with the information. See, wisdom, I think, would dictate that you get a second opinion on most things, right? 2 to 3 witnesses, type of scriptural basis for things, right? Go get another opinion. Make sure that you've gotten some wisdom in doing things, all right? I've always told people, when I sent them to either an attorney or a doctor or whatever, I said, and by the way, go see more than one and get more than one opinion. All right. Next question is what? Go ahead.
From Nigel, how does someone whose love language is words of affirmation avoid the trap described in James 4:4?
Oh, the idea of being more like a people pleaser? Look, words of affirmation, I think you've confused it a little bit. Okay? Words of affirmation is my second language. So I kind of understand, at least from my perspective. But it means that you want to hear somebody affirm that what you're doing is good, pleasing in their sight or whatever. But from my perspective, I don't need to hear that from everybody about everything I do. I only feel like I need to hear it about certain things from certain people, okay? So bear in mind, the opposite is very dangerous in terms of hurting the person, whereas those people I need to hear the affirmations from, if they give criticism, put downs, or belittling, that hurts a lot more to a words of affirmation person because I needed to hear affirmation and you gave me the opposite. However, the people who I really don't care what they have to say, they can say anything they want, it doesn't bother me at all. See, your problem, Nigel, is that you care too much about what everybody says. Or that's generally the point you're making, is that you care too much about what too many people say. Okay, stop caring what people say. Care about people you align with and what they say. All right? The world doesn't align with you. Why do you care what they say? All right? My daughter asked me this a long time ago when she first started helping us with the social media, like, all these people say all these mean things and everything else. She says, that doesn't hurt you or bother you? No. It's like, why not? I said, I don't know them. I don't have a relationship. I'm not aligned with them. Why do I care what they say? Okay, I don't know why they're upset. I don't know what their issue is, and I don't have the time to figure it out. I'm doing what I'm doing. However, if my wife says something to me, or my daughter, who I'm very close with, or elder, who we have a long relationship now developed, etc., says certain things, I care what they have to say about things because of a certain level of relationship and alignment. Okay? And so I know, hopefully this will come across wrong. I know this was a good teaching. Okay? I just know, paying attention to how it went through, that this was a powerful and good teaching. Okay? And some of you will come up and tell me that. I don't care. I appreciate it. But I will be really appreciative if 2 or 3 specific people, and I will even ask them, did you hear the teaching? Yes. Did you? Because sometimes my wife, whoever could be working with the children, didn't get to hear it yet. Okay? But I want to hear what they think about it. Okay, when I say I don't care what you think about it, that doesn't mean, look, if you give me positive affirmation, I do appreciate that. Okay? But I only need it from the few. But that's me. Maybe, Nigel, you're a little different. But I think that it would help you to shrink that circle of people that you really care for those affirmations. It's supposed to be a love language, okay? All right? So if I don't know you, it's not a love language. So you can say whatever you want about me and I could care less. I mean, I don't know you, okay? We have no relationship, all right? And so let's just understand that. And by the way, whether you have the relationship with me or not is based on what I think, not what you think, okay? Just like the same thing with if someone thinks they have a relationship with you, it's not based on what they think, it's what you think. Lord, Lord, we did all this stuff in your name. They thought they had a relationship, and so I said, no, you didn't. Okay, I didn't have that relationship with you. Okay, you thought you did. Okay? The only time you're right about that is if you both agree. I think I have a relationship with you, and you think I have a relationship with you. And now we're on the same, now we're aligned. Does that make sense? Okay? So, if your love language is words of affirmation, then look, what if your love language is gifts? Should everybody be giving you gifts? It'd be a little weird if some people were like, you don't really want gifts, so I'm give you gifts. What if your love language was physical touch? You should not be touching everybody. Or being touched by everybody. But it's very important that you have physical touch with the people that are the people that's the love language. Okay? So my wife comes over and gives me a hug, it means more than anything. All right? You give me a hug, I appreciate it, but I don't want to, you understand what I'm trying to say? Quality time, you shouldn't be spending quality time just with everybody. It's not quality time, it's just with everybody. It should be it's a love language, right? So words of affirmation is the same, okay? So if my family's going to tell me I'm doomed and out of the faith and everything else because I'm trying to keep Torah, which a lot of people are told that kind of stuff or whatever it is, I don't care. They clearly don't love me just and accept me and everything else. They're trying to judge me and this, that, and the other thing, so I don't care. I would prefer it if they didn't do that, right? I would like them to affirm my decisions. Okay? Stop, how do I want to say this? Stop being overly concerned with the opinions of family by default. Did you hear what I just said? That means your mother, your father, your sister, your brother, your children even. Stop being overly concerned with what they think. Care about the family by choice, okay? My friends by choice, like the ones I've chosen to actually be close with. My family, like my wife, who I chose to marry, right? This is by choice. Those things, I'm much more concerned about how the languages are spoken, right? So I don't feel that same thing about anybody. Just because you were born, or I was born into your family, like somehow we're physically related, doesn't make it the same thing as by choice, all right? All right? Some of you have family members, you're like, I don't know how we got to be family members, but I don't, It's just, if we weren't born family, I would never talk to you. And some of you are born family, you still don't talk to each other, okay? Because you're just not aligned. And alignment matters, right? That's what builds the relationships.
From Olivia, Rabbi, is this pride, not letting our evil pleasures go? We aren't doing submissions to Yah's will and mindset? Is humility being submissive?
We're going to cover this more when I cover the 7 deadly sins. Okay, when we get to pride, but pride can be part of the reason. Look, you desire, okay? And it's hard to let go of what you desire. That's not necessarily pride. You just don't want to let it go because you desire it, okay? Now, from the other side of it, as far as like submission, okay, it takes humility to submit. It takes humility to recognize that you're not letting go because you desire something. So pride may be what's blinding you to the fact that you need to own that you want it or whatever, okay? But pride is not the reason necessarily. It could be a reason, but it's not the reason always why you won't let something go. There is one reason why you won't let it go, because you don't want to, okay? Now that may be because of pride or not. It may be just because you just don't want to. You like it, okay? I like it. I don't want to let it go. I like doing it, whatever it is, okay? I don't want to stop doing that. Now, there is a certain level of pride because it's about me, but it's just flesh. It's just, we call it flesh. When it's about me, it's not necessarily pride. It's flesh first, okay? It's just flesh. Flesh is all about self. The pleasures of self, okay? Now, if somebody wants to show you, by the way, this is your fault, or wants to show you, by the way, you might not realize this, but this is, and you don't want to receive, that could be pride, okay? All right? It might not be pride if you say, yeah, I don't care though. I like doing it. That's not necessarily pride, it's just flesh. It's the pride that refuses to see, the pride that won't, it takes humility to see, to own, okay? The proud can't apologize. They can say, I'm sorry, but they're not apologizing. It takes humility to apologize. Apologize means I'm owning the thing that you're upset about, that it was my fault and that I did it. Okay, as opposed to just saying the words, I'm sorry, because you think that's what you want, the other person wants to hear or whatever, okay? But if I'm sorry is part of an apology, there's humility in that.
All right, from Donna Stevens, it's two-parter, Colossians 1, 10 through 13. I noticed during the liturgy, through continued weekly repetition, I can now complete it without looking at the words. It is now a part of me. Would it be correct to say to walk worthily of the Master were to take the instruction heard, repeat it exactly and continuously without change until we become that instruction? Then we will bear good fruit always?
See, this is why I'm glad I took more questions, because Donna always says things so beautifully. I just give that a thumbs up. Perfectly said, Donna. All right? Beautifully said.
Another one from Olivia. Christianity gave us false humility. We can do nothing, and JC did everything, and it gave pride in the death and resurrection, so we would not, quote unquote, go back to the law. We never did. This unlearning is a humbling.
Trying to figure out what you said is going to be a humbling. Okay, that was, okay. Look, I don't know that Christianity gave you false humility, okay? Christianity, I don't think, requires you to be humble in that way. It simply says he did it, and you just have to believe that he did it, all right? As far as the idea of this idea of not being able to go back to the law, whatever, there's some pride in, and that's the flesh again. Christians who say, well, you're not getting me to go back under the law, it's not anything other than just flesh. I don't want to do this. I don't want to change my life. Okay, I don't want to keep a different day. I don't want to eat different. I don't want to have to, wear different things on my clothes, whatever. It's flesh, that's all. It's those desires, those things that I don't want to do all that. All right? Now, once you've been shown, if he popped your ball and everything else and you still reject, it could be a pride issue. Pride could really be the problem underneath or driving some of this, but it's really flesh.
We have one more, Rabbi, from Lynn Loves Yah. I think it came out of the answer you were having with Janet. Concerns with safety, though, with when compromising gets you hurt. I want safety. Should I not want that?
Okay. Yes, you should want safety. Sometimes I don't understand you guys, okay? You read into things that I don't say. I say when you don't agree with something, you can compromise. I didn't say you have to give in and compromise and put yourself in an unsafe place. Okay? There's some things you should never compromise. And then you may not want to be in that relationship because it's unsafe. I was talking about benign things like my wife wants me to take her out every week and I may want to go out once a year, and then we compromise. There's nothing unsafe about that. All right? So I don't know where you would come up with this kind of stuff. People just, okay, be safe. Make wise decisions. If you're not safe, why would you be trying to compromise with somebody that has you unsafe? I don't understand the questions. And I'm not picking on Lynn, please. If somebody types something in, don't think I'm picking on that person. I don't even know who she is, okay? Or maybe I do, I just don't know that's the handle, whatever, because I've talking to different people over time. But the thing is, I'm trying to give that as an example to all of you. Sometimes you guys are this, whoever the person is I'm talking about, right? You act, think like, react to, just like they do. Okay? When I'm looking to align with somebody, I mention things like the expectation maybe to take the shoes off when you walk in the house, or not putting onions in the food, or putting something in the food, or remembering that I don't like asparagus, or whatever. Okay. I didn't mention that during the teaching, but you guys get the inside joke with that. All right, my wife is laughing. But the thing is, okay, why would you compromise with somebody if it's going to get you hurt? All right? I'm talking about trade-offs. I want, you want. I wasn't really, when I say that I was going to give you zero, I'll give you an example. All right? Simple example, use it all the time. When I got married to my wife, I never really was one that took pictures. I didn't care if you took pictures of me when I was doing stuff, but I didn't have, I was not a shutterbug. And by the way, for all of you kids with your phones and everything, it was expensive to take pictures. Because you had a camera with film that you had to pay to have somebody develop and all that kind of nonsense. All right. But then I met her and she's a shutterbug. She loves to take a million pictures of everything. That's fine, okay? So a compromise had to do with my being willing to be more involved in pictures because it's her thing, but her recognizing it's not my thing. So nobody's unsafe in any of that. Just she's not going to get me to want to do as many pictures as she wants, and I'm not going to want her to do as little as I want. Do you understand the difference there? Now, yes, you all hear me I always pretend to be all upset and not want to do pictures, and it becomes the big joke, and you guys all expect me to like roll my eyes if she wants to take pictures, but I give her the pictures she wants, okay? I always say yes, I always do it anyway, whatever. Now, but the thing is, it's a compromise of preferences. It's not a compromise of character. It's not a compromise that includes something unsafe, okay? It's a compromise of I didn't prefer. Now, there are things that I prefer to do a lot more of that she doesn't want to do that much of necessarily. So I was like, hey, can you give me a little bit more, something equivalent on the same level as like, say, pictures or whatever? And we do more of this thing that I like that you don't really care about. Okay, and I'll do more of this thing that you care about that I wasn't even on my radar to take pictures. I think when I met her, I had a box that had like 10 pictures in it over my whole life, okay? She had 2 bookcases full of photo albums, all right? No, 3, okay? All right? So, the big, thick ones, the pictures are now sliding out of them because they don't last forever. But, so it really wasn't my thing, but it's not an unsafe thing or that kind of thing. And I'm sure there's stuff that I say, hey, I'd like to do this on some sort of a regular basis or whatever, that she was like, that wasn't even on my radar. It wasn't something I was even thinking about. And then we can make a trade-off. Hey, you get a little here and I get a little there, and then we're both happy, okay? So, not happy like I got exactly what I wanted, okay? So I'll give you an example of how this can play out. Went to an amusement park with the children, and I told her I will pose for pictures and make the children behave and pose for pictures up to the point where I say, that's enough pictures. And then you will respect that you got as many as you got, and I didn't have to keep doing it beyond that, right? So that, be aware, it's tick, 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 and then no. Okay, so don't waste pictures, okay? Be smart about it. All right, and some of you are like, why do you care about pictures? I don't care about pictures. I don't want to stop. I'm red. I don't want to stop what I'm doing to pose. Okay? You want to take pictures of me while I'm doing things? Take as many as you want. I could care less, okay? Don't make me stop. And then put on the smile and do this whole thing like Elder likes when I go, okay? So I hate being in the pictures. Take it already, smile. But you know what? That's how, and it went well. I made the children behave, and we stopped wherever she wanted to take a picture and all that kind of stuff. And then at one point I said, okay, that's enough. I don't want to do this anymore. If you want to keep taking pictures while I'm doing things, I'm not posing anymore. Okay? And that was an agreed to thing. Was she happy? Not really. I mean, she didn't want to stop, but she was happy. She got a lot more, and I helped her get the picture she wanted and behaved and got the children to behave, whatever. So, but what, did she really get everything she wanted? No. That's how you win, though. You win by being okay not getting everything you want. And being willing to give somebody more of what they want, even though that's not what you really wanted. But no, never should you compromise when compromising gets you hurt. Okay? So I certainly did not say that. All right? All right.